This is the end of quarter sprint update video for Cardinal. So my project is Cardinal, and the goal of this project is to help novice CS students plan for their CS assignments. This is a problem because CS students struggle with their planning. Through user interviews, I found that some students feel like they were never taught how to plan or write pseudocode, and so as a result, they also think it's not a necessary step in the planning process. For students who do make plans, they often find themselves making unrealistic plans and then have difficulty with replanning or sticking to their plan. The current solutions that CS students use to plan are using Google Calendar to block out time to work on their assignments, using a planner, the existing scaffold from winter, just getting started with the assignment, going to office hours, and then receiving pseudocode from the professor or with some help from the PM or TAs. However, none of these solutions actually really help a student with understanding and processing their assignment enough to create a good plan, and are instead just solutions on either breaking down the tasks or asking for help, which can make a student feel like they can't make any progress unless they go to office hours. So when we focus on students who do try to plan, the current problem statement for Cardinal is novice CS students want to be able to plan for their CS assignments, but struggle with understanding the high-level goal of the assignment and accurately assessing what they know and don't know, leading them to create unrealistic plans by underestimating the assignment difficulty and overestimating their understanding of the concepts needed to complete the assignment. This problem statement was based on the need finding and testing I did this quarter. I did observational interviews to see how students were currently engaging with the winter scaffold to get a sense of where students were still struggling, even when given the scaffold. I also did general user interviews to get user insights on why they don't plan and bad outcomes that they have, which could be attributed to a lack of planning, such as writing over complicated code. So from this, I found that a lot of students don't have processes for thinking laterally across the assignment, like what the high level goal of the assignment is, or just reflecting on their initial understanding. Instead, a lot of the times, the process is to just get started and complete the steps sequentially, and only later realize that you don't understand a certain concept. This can lead to a lot of conceptual confusion or just writing over complicated code without realizing that, for example, helper functions would simplify things. So I created a design probe to target that initial plan and initial understanding part of the process. And so my desired user outcome was understanding the high-level goal and concepts required to achieve that goal, and two, helping a user understand what they know and don't know coming into the assignment. So this is what the scaffold looks like. My focus, again, was that initial understanding. And so I have these questions on the left to prompt the student to reflect on their understanding coming into this assignment. But I also wanted to use this space as an opportunity to also test out task decomposition. So on the right, you can see here I had a mini design probe within my design probe. Again, my main goal with testing was to see if users reached that desired outcome when using the scaffold. So I tested the scaffold on 3 CS undergrads and also during status update, where I tested it on the DTR community of undergrad and graduate students. I asked the users to use the scaffold to plan for an upcoming CS assignment. And on the right here, you can see the plan I had during status update. This is the user journey behind the scaffold, and here's an example of the scaffold in use. A student used the brain dump space to engage with assignment by just brain dumping all their initial thoughts through a stream of consciousness approach. They then highlighted all the concepts they already knew to get a better sense of what they knew and didn't know coming into this assignment. They then were prompted to write the high-level goal in their own words. The scaffold then asked about relevant concepts they would probably need to know to complete this assignment, which in this case prompted the student to think about relevant lectures she would have to go back to. This scaffold also then prompted the student to think about what they're confused about and what questions they could ask during help seeking opportunities like office hours. Lastly, the student was then encouraged to break down their tasks and along with that, rate the difficulty and time estimate for each task in the task decomposition part. From the tests and status update, I got a lot of good feedback and findings. I learned that the brain dump space provided students with the space to just initially process the assignment, but then also help them reflect on what they know and still need to learn. Asking about the high level goal and the colloquial language used with the question, what are you confused about, was also helpful. In short, I was able to help students achieve that desired outcome of understanding that high level goal and two, helping them understand and reflect on what they know and don't know. However, there still is a lot of room for improvement. I took this quote from my findings. I think I would feel more confident if I could walk away from your prototype with a bulleted list of next steps to do in a timely manner. So this is something that the current scaffold isn't leaving the student with. And so this is something that I want my next iteration to get at to help students actually, process their assignment, but then also leave with an actual plan. And in short, my task decomposition stage needs improvement. Specific feedback I got on that was that I need to actually bridge this gap between the task decomposition and initial understanding questions because it seemed like there was a disconnect. I also got feedback about incorporating debugging into the planning process by getting students to debug during the process, not just at the end. I also got feedback about iterating the scaffold to help students think early on about what can go wrong, like roadblocks or bugs. The eventual goal of the scaffold or solution is to actually come up with some sort of iterative planning tool, which would get students to continue using this tool to iteratively plan as they go through this assignment. In short, my next steps are more testing and iterating. An example preview of what this looks like would be, for example, to incorporate more debugging. I could add these parts about the scaffold to get students to think about debugging and what can go wrong. So thank you so much for your time and for listening. Thank you.